Yo, what up? What up? What up? It is your man, Mr. Controversy, back again. And I'm not here by myself. I got my guy, Danny Thompson. What up, Danny?
Man. Another wonderful week of the top 10, my brother. What's going on?
Let me fix the screen, brother. We are good. There we go. Um, all right, I gotta make a joke about it, Danny. It's been going too long because I know people gonna say something. So we hadn't got the that we hadn't got
Yeah.
that first time.
Hey, listen, let me tell you what's going on. So, you ain't the first person to tell me about this. So, let me tell you what's going on. My apartment complex down here in Orlando will only come in my apartment if it's an emergency. They do not consider changing my smoke detector an emergency. So, unless it's considered like, a fire, flood, I ain't got no water, air conditioning leaking, whatever it is, the fire alarm is not considered an emergency. So, for those who don't know me personally, I've had hip replacement surgery about a while ago.
Mhm.
So, for me to climb on this ladder, climb up on something at 265 pounds on a table or something like that is down to be a World Star exclusive. So, nah. I mean, we're going to have to deal with the beat for hopefully another couple of days. Hopefully, I get them out here on Monday or so.
Yeah, all right. I just had to put that disclaimer out so they know. Um,
Hey, man, that means if they don't know about the beeping, they haven't been watching either your show or my show in the last, what, 3 months? I don't know.
I know, right? All right, so we put that out there. But this is the top 10 running backs of the 2000s. Now we've been doing this for the last this is our fourth week because we did the running backs of the 90s, wide receivers of the 90s, and the quarterbacks of the 90s. So this is our running backs of the 2000s now. We evolved. And how it goes is we're each going to give our top 10 list, but how we do it is we do it one by one. So Danny go first. He'll say it's 10, then I'll follow with my number 10 spot, and so on. Stop at 5. Get to see what's going on with the chat and whatever, see what people are saying and thinking, and and then we'll go the bottom 5, which I'll go first, then he'll go next. Okay. So we don't discuss who you got on your list or anything like that. This is we go with our list and then we just put it up. So without further ado, Danny, I'm gonna let you start. Hold on, let me make sure I get my list together, okay? And get your list together.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, man, with your list. This is your top 10 list, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So let me start with number 10. All right. So if you don't know, if you've never had to put these lists together, this might be the hardest list we've done in the first 4 weeks.
It was.
Like,
It was.
like we talked, me and Raph talked about an hour ago. He's like, "Yo, you got your list ready?" I'm like, "Man, I'm like really going back and forth on these backs here." So my number 10 guy, it's one of Raphael's favorite running backs. All right, a guy that's always been consistent with the ball in his hands, was one of the more underrated playmakers of the decade, and that's Amon Green of the Green Bay Packers. All right, listen, Amon Green was for almost 7 years the model of consistency. If you take away the 2005 season, which he was injured, he had 1,000 yard seasons. All right, one of the better pass catchers out of the backfield. I mean, he had was it 5 seasons, 4 or 5 seasons, over 50 catches. So it wasn't the fact that he was just running the ball on the ground. He also had a multitude of big plays in the field. And also, Raphael, here's a great stat though. He had over 90 first downs 4 times in the decade in a season.
Mm.
So if you need to get a first down, you need to. And how did Brett Favre then become successful? Running the football. Brett Favre made interceptions, but guess what? Amon Green was the guy that controlled the game. And listen, he had 2 seasons where he had the longest carry of the season, a 90-yard touchdown. He was just a guy with model consistency for me. So he's one of your favorites. So I have him at number 10.
Yeah, I like that pick. I'm not mad at that. Like I said, I try not to be biased on these. It's hard not to. But okay. So my number 10, I think this was hard, like you said. I don't think he gets a lot of recognition. I think people have forgotten about him, and that is my guy Corey Dillon. And I have Corey Dillon at number 10. Let's face it, Corey Dillon, he only had 4,000-yard seasons. You say, Mr. Controversy. Well, I don't get it. What's the point? But what people don't understand is, of course, in the 90s, he was great with Cincinnati at the end of the 90s. And then he went to New England. But he had 63 touchdowns in 2000. 63 just in the 2000s. So and he didn't get a lot of carries in New England. But when it was time to give him the ball, he got the first downs. He got the tough yardage. He kept the clock moving. And most importantly, he got the touchdowns. And I don't think that they get one of those Super Bowls without him, because he was instrumental in carrying the football, running the clock down. And we always know Belichick always have that running back that does that. Mm-hmm. But again, he didn't get a lot of carries. He didn't get to 250 carries or more like he did in Cincinnati. But yet still, he got 63 touchdowns, bro. So he's my number 10 running back.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's like you said, sometimes it's not about numbers. It's about what you do with the football. So, no, good choice there. I like that. So we're now going to number 9 for me. And another guy that you said, like you said, didn't get the accolades as other running backs, but arguably might have been the most important member of this team in the decade, and that's Fred Taylor of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, Fred Taylor only had 1 Pro Bowl appearance in the entire decade. But when you have 7 1,000-yard seasons, 6 1,000-yard seasons, and then, like I said, he had one season where he had about 800 because he missed 5 games, would have had 1,000 yards a year based on averages. Fred Taylor, kind of the same way Ahman Green was a model of consistency. If you look at Jacksonville, why they were so good for so long, Fred Taylor was the reason why. But Fred Taylor's numbers were also hampered towards the end of the decade because they drafted Maurice Jones-Drew. His last 2 years as a full-time starter was when there's 2 1,000-yard seasons, and he had a 600-yard season. But Maurice Jones-Drew was splitting carries with him as he was being ushered out of the door because of a younger running back. Fred Taylor did the little things. He blocked, he caught passes, and he was just under the radar. You got to think, with an offense that has Mark Brunell and 2 of the most underrated wide receivers no one really talk about in the decade of Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardle, also one of the best duels in the league. The reason why Jacksonville is so consistent is because Fred Taylor ran the football as well, too. So a guy that has multiple variations of himself, Fred Taylor was that guy. So I have Fred Taylor number 9.
Good pick. I like it. I like it because I have Fred Taylor as my number.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all, Danny. It's nothing else I really can add as far as the stats and accolades, but I'll go into just with the just watching him, you know what I'm saying, and the eye test. This guy could juke, outrun you, run you over. And like you said, he could catch, he could block, he could do it all. He was the prototypical back for the 2000s. He was the back that you wanted, that could do it all. I think he would be better in today's game than he was back then because he was he wasn't as durable, but he could do it all. I'm saying he could do it all. And that was the thing that really knocked him, was he had a couple of injuries, and then because of that, they brought Maurice Jones-Drew. And I talked to Maurice face to face. I actually asked him a question about it, and he said he thought they were ahead of the schedule when they did a 2-back system. But if it wasn't for that, I really think he'd be in the top 10 as probably like number 7 as far as rushing yards in history. I mean, because that's how good he was. I think he's very underrated. So I agree with you, and that's my number 9 pick.
All right, so we're going to go to number 8. And number 8 for me was a guy that, man, listen, if injuries would not have piled on him towards the end of the decade, he might have been even higher. And that's Clinton Portis. Listen, Clinton Portis came in from the University of Miami. Clinton Portis was a rushing machine. 3 seasons of 1,500 yards in the decade. All right. Raphael, with all those numbers, all of the little different things he did, he had 6 1,000-yard seasons as his first 7. The problem is last 2 years of the decade, he was hurt. But when he was in there, if you go back to 2003, I think his best year in the league,
Mhm.
He ran for 122 yards per game on the ground.
Yeah, he was a beast.
A guy that got double-digit touchdowns 4 times that decade, including he had 15 touchdowns as a rookie. As a rookie. Clinton Portis might have been arguably a top 2 or 3 running back in this decade, more likely, if injuries would have not taken away the last part of his career in Washington. And you got to think, anytime, Raphael, you can get 1,000 yards, almost 1,500 yards as a Redskin. We're not talking about the Broncos. Broncos are a good offensive line. But you did it in D.C., in Chocolate City.
Yeah.
With those bad teams. I mean, that makes you a bad boy. So I got Clinton Portis in number 8.
All right. So my number 8 running back. This is the guy that he could have led the league in rushing. I mean, not lead, but I think he could have been a top 5. And we talk about injuries and everything, but he should have been a top 5 running back in history. But it wasn't just injuries. I mean, sometimes you gotta, smoke a blunt every now and then. I'm going with Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams, this guy right here. It's funny because his rookie year in '99, he had like 800 or 900 yards. I'm just going by memory with that, but he didn't get over 1,000 yards. But then after that, he got 8,000, just 1,000 at the mark. When he went to Miami, he took off. That's when we saw what we thought we would see from the running back from Texas. And I think it was his 3rd year. He had over 1,800 yards rushing, and he got faster. If you watch, like his 3rd year in Miami, just you couldn't catch him anymore. He lost weight because he was a little bigger when he came in. Lost weight, could run you over, and he was that type of running back that you didn't want to tackle. And the longer the game went, and more carries he got, the stronger he got. So he was like unstoppable. And then the year after they had 1,200, and decided, I'm good. Just enough. We always thought he was kind of weird, or we didn't really know who he was. Remember, he used to do his rookie year, he was doing the interviews with his helmet on. Because
the anxiety he had for dealing with the media and everything.
And the horrible part was all the bros, and just people in general was, oh yeah, he weird. Something wrong with him, man. I don't know what's wrong with that dude, man. I don't know. Then when he takes off, and now he's smoking weed and all of that, everybody's like, oh yeah, he cool. That's my dog. Go figure. But the most interesting thing is he came back, took a year off, came back and played. He wasn't the main guy, but he was getting carries, still getting yards, averaging like 4.1 a game. 6 seasons after he took that hiatus, he runs over 1,000 yards.
Yep.
So just think, if he wouldn't have taken off, which they wouldn't have given his job to it was Ronnie Brown.
One of those Auburn running backs, because they both played for him.
It was Ronnie Brown. Just think, if he would have stayed there, he would have gotten probably another 4,000 or 5,000 yard season. So that's my number 8 running back.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with that. I mean, listen, he proved that he was worth all the trouble. The problem was it wasn't in New Orleans; it was more in Miami. So, hey, that's a tough number 8 right there. So I guess I'll go into number 7, and my number 7 is a guy that had arguably one of the most dominant 3-year stretches that you can possibly think of in the NFL, maybe even close to 4 years, and that's Priest Holmes. Listen. Priest Holmes was in the beginning part of the 2000s. When he left Baltimore, his last year in Baltimore was right around 900 yards. He goes to Kansas City, leads the league in rushing his first year, drops 21 touchdowns his second year, 27, Raphael, 27 his third year. Then he just says, you know what? I'll just get a minuscule 14 the next season. Problem was, after 2004, the numbers just piled up. But for that 3-year stretch, when he was in Kansas City, he was the best running back in football. Not only could he run the ball, but he could catch the ball at the same time. The guy was getting catches at the backfield. He had 3 seasons, the first 3 seasons in Kansas City, over 60 receptions. So he wasn't only just getting yards on the ground. He was catching things in catching passes. He was a dual threat. Reminded me a lot of Roger Craig at that stretch. I mean, anytime you can score 27 touchdowns in a season, or even get 25 touchdowns combined, receiving and rushing over 2 years, the only thing was it just wasn't. It was a dominant 3 years, but it wasn't a whole decade's worth. That's why I have him at this point. But man, oh man, what a monster in the field was Priest Holmes.
Yeah, Priest was that dude. That was my guy right there. He was a fantasy beast, I think.
Yeah.
Forget
that was the early days of fantasy football.
Right.
That was the early days.
He was a fantasy beast. Okay, so my number 7 running back. Not a big fan of him. Hate the team, but I said I wasn't gonna be biased, so I'm going with Ahman Green.
Okay.
Like you said, man, this dude was Mr. Consistent. I think it was 6,000 yard seasons in a row, and he was a big focal point for that Green Bay Packers. Yeah, Brett Favre. I mean, this is after the MVP season of Brett Favre. I mean, Brett Favre was still doing his thing, but this was interceptions Brett Favre as well. Mm-hmm. But this was the guy that, all right, let's calm Brett Favre down. Let's run the ball. It's 5 yards here, 6 yards here, 3 yards here. And the crazy thing is he was like Emmitt Smith. Remember, he carried the ball, I think, with his left hand. He couldn't carry it with his right hand.
And was still getting it.
Now, he would fumble a lot, which I used to love, but I mean, that dude was he was just consistent, Mr. Consistent, man. I think he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. And he was a workhorse. And that's my number 7 guy.
All right, my number 6 is a guy that, like I said, overcame injuries. And listen, only a few backs have done this in the history of the NFL, and that's run for 2,000 yards this season. I got Jamal Lewis here at number 6. Look, you get 1,300 yards as a rookie. You miss your second full season due to a knee injury, and you come back with 1,300 yards. How do you top 1,300 yards in 2 of your first 3 seasons after missing one? You drop almost 2,100 yards in your third full season in the league. Yes, after that year, he had 3 1,000-yard seasons and would have had a fourth one if he had 900 yards that season. Listen, Jamal Lewis was one of the reasons why Baltimore was successful in the 90s. A big power back, a guy not only was just power, but he had speed at the same time. He wasn't the best pass catcher, but he was reliable enough when you need him. But man, when you get 2,000 yards in a season, it means something. Like that's a number, like you said, Rafi. Only 7 guys in the league have hit in the history of the NFL.
And at that time, what was it? Only like 5?
What was it afterwards? Was what Peterson? Peterson, I think C2K did it at the end of the decade.
So it was only 4 then.
Yeah,
because he made 5. Yeah, he made 5.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Good pick. My number 6 guy, this was hard. But like I said, this list is hard, everyone. But
tell me about it.
I'm talking about a guy that got better with age. Remember, he used to have a fumble problem, I remember. And I used to follow him in college, thought he was a good runner, and he got to the Giants, start fumbling, but he fixed that problem, looked weird carrying the ball, and he got better with age, and that's my guy, Tiki Barber.
Okay.
Tiki, look, I know people don't like his attitude and the fact that he, how he acted with the Giants. And they felt like he quit on them and all of that good stuff. But as a running back, he was tough. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the quickest. He couldn't really juke you like that. He was just a football player. And he can catch the ball out the backfield. He was dependable. He didn't really get hurt. I mean, it was Tiki. You know what I'm saying? And again, people don't think about it because he had 1,000 yards here and there, kept getting them. And then he just went on to a point where it's like he just got better each year. Each year he got better. And
Mm-hmm.
I think his last year he had his best year overall. So I got to go with Tiki as my number 6 running back.
All right.
All right. So what we're gonna do before we get into the top 5, I'm gonna we're gonna put I'm gonna put Danny's top bottom 5. I'm sorry, first.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna let you all see it. There you go. Mon Green, Fred Taylor, Clinton Portis, Priest Holmes, Jamal Lewis. I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes. All right, so we're gonna go to the comments. We got Cortland Griffin says Priest was crazy in Casey. I remember playing with him on Madden.
Priest was a beast.
Yeah,
Man, listen.
people forget
how
about
dominant it was. Just dominant. Like it was insane how dominant he was for that stretch.
Right. Yeah. So my man Darrell said he can't please I may not stick around, in the rationale, but I'm going to revisit Danny's nonsense of having Faulk low in his 90s list. Faulk has been better in the 90s than he was in the 2000s. We'll see, man. We'll see. I said the same thing. I said the same thing. My guy, R.H. Galloway, what's up, homie? He says, let's see how high Edgerrin James is on both of you all's lists, and I will judge. Okay, we'll see. All right, here go my bottom list. If you missed it, as I got Corey Dillon at 10, Fred Taylor at 9, Ricky Williams at 8, Ahman Green at 7, and Tiki Barber at 6. Before we get into where we're going to depict each other's lists, just real quick, do you have any surprises?
Listen, I'm gonna hold my opinion to the end. I want to see where certain running backs in this list before I can, because I might say a player, I might say a running back that might be a little bit too high, too low. You might have running back looking a little different. So I'll wait till the end.
Man, I'm gonna go to Mike. Mike says, Teal, that smug dude could run the ball.
It must be Tiki. It must be Tiki.
Yeah, Tiki. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Go ahead. Mike said, boo, number 17 out of my agree. He's a Bears fan.
Listen, I should look up Ahman Green's number against the Bears just to torture y'all while the rest of them on the show. Man. Actually, I might do that when you pull up somebody.
I told you I hated Ahman Green, man. I always wanted him to fumble, but he was hard. He was a hard guy to tackle. He's a football player. No bias here unless it comes down to the top 5, Mike. Then that's when I'm gonna show a little bias. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into our number 5 from top 5 list now. And I'm gonna go first. And here we go. So all right, number 5. It's funny because I feel like most of these have been said already. But my number 5 running back, look, he just talked about him. The guy had over 2,000 yards. That's my guy, Jamal Lewis. What was interesting about Jamal Lewis is, and the only reason why I have him at 5, and I don't have him lower, I mean, let's be real. Jamal Lewis ran for 10,000 yards in the 90s. 10,000 yards, 607 to be exact, 58 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The thing was, the first year, it was great because his rookie year, Super Bowl, they won it. They depended on him offensively. But after that, you didn't see him. He played on teams that really didn't matter. It was yard, not, how like in the NBA basketball, we say those are meaningless points. That's kind of what it was with running. It's not his fault because he did his job. But It wasn't, if you look at the rest of the guys that I have, they were pretty much more instrumental in their team success. And Jamal only had that 1 year for the Super Bowl. So that's why he's at number 5. But I mean, let's be real, Jamal might be, I think he the top 3 as far as most yards
in a decade.
Yeah. So I got him as my number 5 runner.
All right. So for me at number 5, I'm gonna go to the guy. We talk about parts of the decade where players are dominant and guys that put up absolutely monster numbers. Shaun Alexander is the best running back in the history of the NFL that does not have a Hall of Fame designation next to him. All right, listen, you go back to 2005. Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. This ain't Russell Wilson, all right? This was Shaun Alexander left, Shaun Alexander right, Shaun Alexander up the middle, all right? The man ran for 1,800 yards and 27 touchdowns in one season, all right? On top of that, he's one of 2 running backs in the decade to win the league's MVP award. That holds weight.
Right.
Where not only you're the best at your position, you're the best player in the entire league. After his rookie season where he really didn't touch the ball very much, ripped off 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, including that MVP season. Now, the problem was he got the MVP and the Madden curse hit him the next year. All right. Let's just say this. Yeah, he only combined for as many yards in the last 3 years as he did in that MVP season. But you go back and look what Shaun Alexander did. He was a pass catcher. He was a good blocker. And if you go back, like you said, to that season when they made the Super Bowl, Shaun Alexander was everything that you wanted in a running back. I blame John Madden for his career being ended in EA Sports for that one. So I got Shaun Alexander number 5 because, I mean, he ran for over 9,000, close to 9,000 yards a decade as well. So.
Okay. My number 4 running back, I thought was one of the workhorses. You had a few workhorses in this decade, but this guy was a workhorse. But if you saw his size, you'd be like, nah. If I would have told you about him and you never saw him run, you'd be like, nah, he can't be a workhorse. He probably scat back or something. But no, he was a workhorse. He did everything. You already talked to him before. My man Clinton Portis. I have him up so high because, like I said, he was a workhorse. He did everything. You talk about the team's success with Denver. They went to the playoffs. With the Redskins, there was some years he got them there. They were contending. Name receivers that the Redskins had. You can't. And I mean, this is the guy. He had over what? Let me see. I think he had over 9,000 yards. 9,000 yards and around 73 touchdowns, man. And this is a little guy at that. You know what I'm saying? Now you walk next to him, he's stocky. You know, I've seen him up close, but still, heart, determined. Anytime you needed him, he didn't complain. He wanted the ball. He wanted the rock. That's why I got him at my number 4 running back.
Good choice. So my number 4 running back was a guy that it was controversial in the 90s. But here's the reason why I say Marshall Faulk is the 4th best running back of this decade.
Ooh.
It's real simple. You win an MVP trophy as a running back, it means more than anything else. He was the back-to-back Offensive Player of the Year in 2000 and 2001. He had 80 catches in back-to-back seasons. All right, that last year in St. Louis, before kind of things went downhill, it started going downhill at 953 yards, over 900 and 800 the last 2 years. But here's the reason why I have him up there. Yeah, I kind of said some things in the previous episode, the first time we did this. But when you win an MVP award, that automatically catapults you, especially at a position that is not a quarterback. Because how many non-quarterbacks win the MVP award? Going back, before we get back to this, you had 2 running backs in the 2000s itself, Shaun Alexander, Marshall Faulk. Running backs don't win this award. That's why I have Marshall Faulk in the top 5. That's why I'm at number 4. Because when you win the MVP award, on top of what you do on top of that, yeah, the numbers weren't great throughout the decade, but I guarantee you an MVP award counts more than the guy that ran for 1,000 yards more than 5 times. Marshall Faulk was, of course, the definition of the 1,000-yard running back, wide receiver, running back combination was a wide receiver that basically played running back and did it all at the same time. I have Faulk here at 4, mostly because those 2 back-to-back offensive player of the years and that MVP trophy carries a lot more weight to me at this part of his career. So I have Faulk at 4.
Okay. My number 3 running back. We hadn't talked about this guy yet. He was personally at the time when the league, he was my favorite running back at the time. His rookie season, I was like, yo, this dude is a beast. Led the league in rushing his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Could do everything. This was the back that could really do everything. This was, I mean, you think a team shouldn't get a gem like this, especially a team of this caliber that was moving up, but it was perfect for the receiver, the quarterback. You get this running back. That's my man, Edgerrin James, man. Edgerrin at number 3. This dude right here, if he wouldn't have had injuries, and the crazy thing is, I think he tore his ACL after his 3rd year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't the same. He didn't have the burst, but still kept getting 1,000 yards after that. Still was just as productive as he was before he got hurt. And he wasn't explosive like he was before. He could take it to the house. Anytime he get the ball, he's taking it to the house. And this guy right here, man, he not only did it with Indy. You might say, well, he was playing with Indy. He had Patton. He had Marvin Harrison. Even played, I think he played a little bit with Wayne, Reggie Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy right here had over 11,000 yards his career in the 2000s, 61,000 yards, 67 touchdowns. Remember, he went to Arizona too and did the same thing. So he doesn't get. Did he make the Hall of Fame?
I think he's getting inducted this year. I think this is his year.
That's what I'm saying. He got in, right? Yeah. So you forget about him because when he went to Arizona, it was really nothing there in Arizona. But I think he was the guy in Indy though that really made that team go. You know, I know Peyton got his yards, but you had to honor that stretch run play. I used to hate it, but it was very effective. And like I said, this guy could do it all. So Edgerrin James is my number 3 running back. There you go, Ari. He's asking for him.
All right. My number 3 running back is a guy you had a little bit lower on your list. And we talk models of consistency. I think you said a lot of these things before, but Tiki Barber, to me, in this decade, was one of the most consistent running backs in the decade. But Raphael, one thing you did mention was he was second among running backs in catches in the whole decade. Over all these good pass catching running backs, no one caught. There was only one other back that caught more passes than him. Tiki Barber was a bit of everything. You might hate him, his personality. You might love his brother. You might even confuse him with his twin brother. Some people do that on memes. It is what it is. But when it comes to on-the-field production, Tiki Barber was that guy. All right? He might not have all the accolades that other running backs have had. But just think about this. His career ended in 2006. Mind you, in 2006, he ran for 1,600 yards in his last season. He ran for 1,600. 6 of 7 years of the decade he ran was over 1,000 yards. All right. That's the model of consistency. And to think about it, in 2001, he only missed 1,000 yards because he was injured and missed 2 games that year. He would have hit it. Based on the averages per game, he would have hit it. He can run. He can catch. There's nothing more you want in a running back with dual versatility than a guy like Tiki Barber. So consistency, and like I said, man, top 3 in rushing yards and catches of the decade, you got to have him number 3 at least.
Yeah, man. He was, like I said, he was a beast. I got to see him, I think it's last year. Yeah, they played, went to a game when they played Atlanta. I wasn't covering them. No, I just went as a fan and had lower seats, man. He was beasting, you know. I like that pick. Like that. All right. My number 2 running back is a guy you already talked about. I'm shocked that you had him that low, but everything you said was true about him. I just think that this was he was probably more of the workhorse than maybe our number 1 pick. He was the only our number 1 pick. Maybe it's probably more of a workhorse than him. And of course, this is Shaun Alexander, like you stated. This guy, he was always dependent on you, like you stated, Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck had a few good years. He developed into a better quarterback. That was only because of Shaun Alexander's success.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had so many players, so many of the defenses playing 8 in the box, and still would get through. He wasn't going to juke you. He wasn't going to outrun you. But you knew he was going to follow the block, break tackles, and keep coming no matter what. This man had 100 touchdowns in a decade, over 100 touchdowns. And the reason why I have him at number 2 over Edgerrin, the touchdowns, but then also I talked about as far as Jamal Lewis was a big part of getting the team to the Super Bowl. I don't think he was the reason, but he was a big part. But he was the reason Seattle got to the Super Bowl. We know that.
There's no lies. No lies.
Right. And on our show, the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge, yesterday we talked about what if, what athlete I would ask questions to. I wouldn't pick Shaun, but if I could ask a question, did you slap Matt Hasselbeck after that playoff game against the Green Bay Packers when he said we're going to win when y'all won the coin toss, and then he threw the interception? Did you slap him? Please tell me. But again, he was a beast, man, and I think he was the second best running back of the decade. So I have Shaun Alexander as my number 2 running back.
Okay, my number 2 was a guy you had a little bit lower, and I have Edgerrin James. All right. Yeah, Edge got hurt in 2001. We all know that. Only one running back in the decade had over 100 yards a game in 3 seasons. Edgerrin James was the guy that did that. He averaged over 100 yards a game on the ground. Had 5 seasons of over 50 catches. So you want to talk about versatility? Yeah, so what? He played with Peyton Manning. So yes, he had Hall of Famers in Peyton Manning, Marvin Harris, and Reggie Wayne. It is what it is.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those guys wouldn't be as successful if Edgerrin James wasn't running the ball down people's throats. All right. Edge led the league as a rookie in rushing, but he also did it in back-to-back seasons. He led the NFL in rushing as a rookie and his second year. And he was leading the league in rushing until he got hurt in his 3rd year. Mm-hmm. Edge had that swagger. He had that University of Miami swagger to him. All right. Basically, Edgerrin James to me was what Larry Johnson was to basketball. You got a grown man that's big, strong, and wore a gold tooth running down your throat. Larry Johnson wore a gold tooth playing basketball. Edgerrin James had a gold tooth running the football. You didn't want to tackle Edgerrin James in the 4th quarter. You wanted no part of that. He was fast. He was strong. I'm not going to say durable. He had great hands. And when he left, you said earlier, when he left all that wonderful talent in Indianapolis, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Arizona. Emmitt Smith ain't had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Arizona when he left the Dallas offensive line. Listen, anything you ask about Edgerrin James, he did. And you know what? It's too bad we won't be able to see his Hall of Fame induction this year.
Wait, what? They said they might do it. I don't know. But yeah, if we don't, it's sad. I know. But they'll do it next year. But let me ask you. You said he's a Michael Jordan of football running backs?
No, I said Larry Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Larry Johnson. Yeah, I think the gold tooth comparison.
Oh, okay.
No, not Michael Jordan. No.
Hey, real quick, before I go number 1, when I saw Larry Johnson, not Larry Johnson, you got me saying Larry Johnson, Edgerrin James, I'll never forget when he first came into the league for his first game, and he was talking, he had a goals in his mouth.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? That's down south, Dade County living in the NFL. Like he was everything you wanted in a running back, with the exception of the guy I think we both have at number 1. Maybe I'm just saying.
Yep. So My number one. Hey man, you said it. You know, um, here he is. This guy, top four running back of all time, top 4 or 5 running back all time. He was the workhorse. They gave him the ball as short and stout as he was, but you couldn't tackle him. Touchdowns, touchdowns, and touchdowns. So this man had 138 touchdowns in 2000. Or his career, because he played in 2000. I think he played like 2010 and had like 2. But other than that, he had 138 in that decade. He could do everything. He was gonna run past you. He was gonna juke you. He could break tackles. But what I liked about him the most was the one of the best running backs ever when it comes down to goal line play. Better than Shaun Alexander. So I'm gonna let you have the floor, man. I know you probably got him. Go ahead.
I mean, I was going to choose Mike Allstott this position, but we're going to go with LaDainian Tomlinson this position. Listen, everything you said about LT and more. Listen, it was very rare that an NFL trade worked out for two teams. The draft day trade for Michael Vick for LaDainian Tomlinson essentially worked out both for the Chargers and for the Atlanta Falcons. We never really know how good LaDainian Tomlinson would have been in Atlanta, but we know how good he was in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
The best stat about LaDainian Tomlinson, beside all the numbers you made, was he had double-digit touchdowns in every season in the decade he played in.
Mm-hmm.
When you say touchdown machine, you said Shaun Alexander was a touchdown machine. LT was even more of a touchdown machine than Shaun Alexander was. Anytime you can get double-digit touchdowns in every single season you stepped on the field, what more can you say? Led the league in touchdowns 3 times in the decade, ran for over, 12 touchdowns, I think almost every year of the decade. He caught passes. He did everything. And, man, he was a terror in the open field. He caught passes. And he's my guy in NFL. I mean, I know Cortland mentioned that Priest Holmes was the guy in Madden. In NFL 2K5, this was my guy. All right. Give me LT all day long, but I mean, you said it all. LT is just that guy, so I have my number one easy.
Yeah. He was that guy. Okay, so I'm gonna play our top 5. Let me see. I'll play mine first since I went first. And as you see, I had Jamal Lewis number 5, Clinton Portis number 3, Edgerrin James. Clinton Portis number 4, Edgerrin number 3, Shaun Alexander number 2, LaDainian at 1. Let me go to before I put yours up. Let me go to some of the comments. Let's see what we got now. All right, so Mike Patton. This is what I'm sorry, Mike. Let me play your other one because I think that's going to be funny. So he said, "So what Danny Thompson is saying is Edge was grandmama on the football field."
Listen, Edgerrin James was a monster. The only difference between Edgerrin James and Larry Johnson was Larry Johnson's back went out. But if Larry Johnson's back wouldn't went out, Larry Johnson would have been one of the best power forwards we've seen in a long time. Edgerrin James had that type of raw grown man running ability. Like I say, he was just that guy. And besides, it ain't too many. There's not too many guys in the league that walk around with gold teeth in their mouth and expect you to stop them. And he was one of those guys. So scary dude to deal with.
William said, "Can you explain yourselves for leaving Warwick Dunn off the list?" Listen, I'll go first. I had him there, but what Corey did as far as touchdowns, Corey Dillon, as far as touchdowns. After that, I wouldn't put him over Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor had more yards. Fred Taylor was a better running back than him. Then after that, I couldn't. Amon Green, I couldn't. I wanted him. Trust me, I wanted him to be on there. I had him on there. Then I'm like, I took him out. I had to put Corey Dillon in, man. 63 touchdowns, you can't beat. And he was instrumental in them winning the Super Bowl. So that's why I had to go with Corey Dillon over Warwick Dunn. Danny?
And here's the thing. Warwick Dunn played for the Falcons. So
yes.
Warrick Dunn was my guy. I mean, Atlanta, he had the 1,000-yard season. Atlanta. Listen, I love Warrick Dunn. What hurt Warrick Dunn on this list was the fact of, remember, he didn't get the end zone very often because in goal line situations in Tampa, who got the ball was Mike Allstott. Warrick Dunn was also one of the better blocking running backs and receiver running backs in the decade. But if I look at my list completely, and to be honest with you, there wasn't one running back I can take off my list. There wasn't.
Right. That's
it's like you mentioned about Amon Green. Amon Green had he was a 6-time Pro Bowler in the decade. Like, you can't leave that off that. You just can't leave a guy that was consistently an NFL All-Star every year.
In the same conference, too, as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So he made the Pro Bowl 6 times in the decade, so I couldn't leave him over him. Fred Taylor, Raphael mentioned about Fred Taylor, and the rest of the running backs on my list, he wasn't better than, Clinton Portis. He wasn't better than Holmes, Marshall Faulk. He didn't get any of those things. So he was on my second 5 list, but he was hard to leave off the top 10, though, but I didn't have him there.
All right. Before let me go to Danny's top 5. You see Shaun Alexander, Marshall Faulk, Tiki Barber, Edgerrin James, LaDainian Tomlinson. So let me see. I'm going to where is it? So this is why I need to have a stop it button. Is it up here? I can't find it. Corley, you lucky I can't find it, bro.
What do you say?
He said, okay, wait, let me go up some more.
Okay.
Yeah, see, so I promise you I would put my stop it. I would have a stop it button on here. I might have it where I'm saying stop it. He says, so Eddie George has to be somewhere in the top 2, right?
No, Ray Lewis took his heart. Continue.
That's why Jamal Lewis is on here. Because
Ray Lewis took his heart that playoff game. Next. I love Eddie. Eddie's a good guy, but no.
Mike said got Tiki up there high. Danny definitely brought the funk with the pass catching info. Yeah, I didn't. At first, I had him like 4. Then I was like, he can't go over Jamal Lewis. I mean, Jamal Lewis. We said it. Look at his yardage.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't put him over Edgerrin, of course. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to put him over who I have number 4. I had Shaun Alexander at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Who I have number 4? I forgot who I had at number 4. I had
was it
I couldn't put him over Clinton.
No.
I couldn't put him over Clinton. So that's why. But Tiki was that guy, man. And then he caught a lot of passes. Now they were a lot of swing passes, but he was, like I said, he was dependable.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli had to depend on him at that point when he came in. So yeah, anymore. We got okay. He said solid supporting arguments, respect Dunn caught the ball too, though. He did.
He did.
And
that's not taking away from what he did. It's just with only 10. Now, if we did top 15 running backs, top 20, he's definitely there. I don't disagree with that.
Right.
It's just that line, like I know me and Raph were talking earlier. I was like, man, 8, 9, 10 was so hard to like balance out because I had about maybe 4 or 5 running backs that could have argued to be in those last 3 spots.
Right.
So,
all right.
I'm gonna ask yours in a second, though.
One more. Obviously this person wasn't here in the beginning, but still.
Here we go. Listen, I'm taking all volunteers. Somebody want to come change this battery in my apartment? Go ahead, all right?
Yeah, that's the story, man. Yeah, he got a bad hip, so he can't get on there.
I'm not about to be somebody's world star hip hop video. I refuse. All right, Kevin on stage will not be talking, and Tony Baker will not be talking about me talking about the haberdasheries and hemoglobins. They will not happen on my watch. Not a chance.
Oh man. Okay, so Danny, I'll let you go first. Do you want me? Do you need me to put any of my list back up? Which one?
Okay, so
I'll put the bottom 5 first. This is the bottom 5. I'll let you
all
go.
Right. So here's the one I have a question on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Corey Dillon?
I explain why. Go ahead, but I explain why.
I know, but see, when I saw Corey Dillon on my list, I was like, oof, Corey Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oof. In other words, where's Marshall Faulk on this list?
Okay, so how many you have his stats, right?
Yeah.
How many times Marshall go over 1,000 yards?
In the decade, twice.
Only twice. How many years did he play?
Was it 5?
5, I think 5. Yeah, 5 or 6. It's not enough production.
But where does the MVP award count in all this? Back-to-back Offensive Player of the Years and the MVP award. Where does that weigh with that, though?
So let me ask you. So would you put I'm trying to think. Who would it be? Who was it? So would you put Kaya, that same My Neck, My Back, would you put her top 10 of the decade? But she had probably one of the hottest song ever in the decade. No, can't get
that's a terrible comparison because you're comparing a one-hit wonder to a person who won the league's MVP.
No, two-hit wonder?
But one of those hits was the league's MVP award. It wasn't like it was just some regular, 2,000-yard seasons. The man was Offensive Player of the Year twice.
So what about that? Okay, so what about that singer that had 2 hits, had a good album, but that was it? You can't do that.
But was that singer song, the album, considered the album of the year? That's my question. Was it the album of the year?
No, because not album, the song of the year. It would be the song of the year.
Okay, but in this case, in the case of Marshall Faulk, he had 2 songs of the year plus the album of the year. All right, because he was the league's MVP with back-to-back offensive MVPs.
So you saying he's a special ed?
No, special
ed.
Listen.
Man, I'm just saying.
Listen. Biggie had 3 albums, right? He had 2 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall Faulk in the decade, Biggie's 2 albums.
But 2 albums are albums. I'm just saying he had 2 seasons. That was it.
But those 2 years, he was Offensive Player of the Year in both those seasons. Those first 2 years of the decade was Offensive Player of the Year.
So what happened to the other years? We're talking about the decade, not.
Listen, to me, I guess I mentioned my argument. MVPs count. It weighs a lot higher than me. So I kind of figured where you value MVP awards in this. That's all right though.
It's 1 year.
The best player in football. He's the best player in the entire league.
For 1 year. For 1 year. He got replaced by Steven Jackson, who I was about to put on his list.
Hey, Steven Jackson. I will get to that in a second. All right. So we'll talk about running backs before I got left off. All right.
Let me see. Priest Holmes, bro. And look, Priest Holmes is my guy, and I understand what you were saying as far as you had him at number 7. I understand what you said, but 3 years. I love Priest Holmes, but only 3 years. He can't be on it. He can't be at number 7. No. If that's the case, you know what, Darrell? If you listening, you need to get him for not putting Warwick Dunn over Priest Holmes. 3 years?
What?
Only 3 years, bro.
He also set the single season touchdown record those years too. Y'all forgot about that. Okay, Raphael, how many running backs in the decade?
The best song of the year, and that's it. I'm just saying, 3 years. I can't put him in number 7. I can't even put him in the top 10.
The all-time single season rushing touchdown record.
At that time, you're right.
Okay, then the season before that, he had 21 on the ground, 3 in the air, 24 touchdowns. He led the league in touchdowns back-to-back years. The year before that led the league in rushing. So
why don't you have Larry Johnson up there?
Larry Johnson had 2 years, but none of those seasons were compared to what Priest Holmes did. He had 730 carries over 2 seasons. He better lead the league in rushing when he touched the ball that many times. All right. He had 420 carries the year he led the league in rushing. That's like Jamal Anderson's year he led the NFL in rushing.
I would put Steven Jackson over him for the decade. I'm saying for the decade because Steven Jackson had more years, better years. He caught 90 passes. He was running the ball. He was getting touchdowns. But where's
the stop it button? Where's that? You saw a stop it button.
You're going off 3 years though. We're talking about the decade. That's what I'm saying. The whole decade.
He was the best running back in the NFL for 3 years in a row though.
But that's 3 years out of a 10-year.
That's 30% of the decade.
That's not good. This is not baseball. We got everybody. Got 50% or higher. Come on, man. I love Priest Holmes. I'm just saying at number 7 though.
Okay, I think Priest Holmes at 7 is better than Corey Dillon at 10.
Why? Because Corey Dillon had 4,000-yard seasons. The other years he was in New England, he didn't get the ball as much, still averaging over 4 yards per carry, but had 63 touchdowns.
Priest Holmes did that in 3 seasons.
What did he do? What did he do for that team? They get to the playoffs and do anything. He didn't do nothing in the playoffs. Corey Dillon gets to the playoffs and help that team get to a Super Bowl.
You have guys who make also Priest Holmes was an all-pro as well too. I ain't talking about he was also.
I understand it, Danny. I'm just saying at number 7.
Listen,
I can see number 10. If you would have gave him number 10, I'm like, okay.
No, because when you set a record like that, and you put those, you talk about touchdowns. You have mentioned Shaun Alexander at number 2 because of the touchdowns.
But you got him over Ahman Green, who has 6,000-yard seasons. Fred Taylor, we already know what Fred Taylor. You got him over. Where's the cyber button? You got him over Clinton Portis. I'm about to make a live one. Stop it. You got him over Clinton Portis.
Listen, when you break records, that counts. When you break records, listen. All the Corey Dillon shouldn't even be in his top 10. All right, Corey Dillon, stop. If you're gonna throw one at me, you threw a Kaya reference and a Corey Dillon reference all the same show. Stop it, please. Stop it. Stop. Don't.
That was Marshall.
I'm just saying, you threw the reference in there. All right, so my question for you is, what running back or running backs that you have a hard time leaving off the list?
Ward Dunn was one. Let me look. Ward Dunn, Frank Gore, believe it or not, because he only played, I think, 5 seasons. 5 seasons, he had 4,000 yards rushing. He had like 38, 40 touchdowns. So I wanted to put him in bad. But like I said, I looked at the 63, and Corey Dillon was just, he was just instrumental for his team, man. Like, you know, he didn't get a chance to run the ball all those years, but every time he touched the ball, he was very impactful. He brought the New England Patriots back to that Super Bowl championship. You know, they weren't, remember that thing, they had lost after that. They weren't the same team. And then they brought him in, they got back to the Super Bowl. But Frank Gore, it was hard. I thought about Priest Holmes, but like I said, he didn't do enough. Another one, believe it or not, Thomas Jones. No, look at the stats. Thomas Jones.
I know. A Bear player was going to show up somewhere in this. I knew it was going to come with it.
But not even with the Bears, because honestly, I forgot what he did. I'll look it up now. I forgot what he did with the New York Jets.
You got a squeaky wheel.
Okay, you hear me now?
It's like a little. It's like rat. Like it sounds like your Corey Dillon argument. Sorry about that, but you know.
Stupid. Can you hear me now?
The chat. I think the chat was saying it's a raspy microphone. I don't know what it is, but we'll continue.
All right, Danny?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, so
okay.
I think all right. Raphael's trying to get stuff back together. You good? You good?
Okay. I was trying to fix it. That's why I had to exit out.
All right. So my list. Now, a lot of those running backs that you mentioned, but one that you did not mention that I had a hard time with in this decade is actually Brian Westbrook of the Eagles. All right.
I thought about him. Yeah.
Brian Westbrook is so underrated in this decade. He was, like you mentioned, a safety. I'm sorry, guys. Before he was a safety valve. He was the Eagles' offense at one point. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think his nickname was Weapon X. Like, he did everything. He was that line of receiving running backs. Your Ricky Waters they had back in the 90s. You know, they had different guys, but Brian Westbrook, he wasn't the main guy, but he was also one of the more. His numbers don't show the impact. And sometimes when you look at these overall best of the best running backs, sometimes not all about numbers, it's about impact.
Right.
You know, 2007 season where he had 1,300 yards on the ground and 90 catches out the backfield. No, very few running. Marshall Faulk was one of those guys. Like Dan Thompson was one of those guys. Very few guys put up catches like Brian Westbrook did. So I had Westbrook up there. He was one of those guys I considered, you know. And the other one to me, I know it was a short period of time. What were your thoughts on Adrian Peterson in the decade?
He only played 2 years. What? 2
it was 3. It was 3
years. Yeah, I couldn't. I thought about him, but he didn't play enough. That was the only thing. Like I said, I'm not going to I'm not.
But those 3 years, those 3 years. Hold on, because you're talking about guys that put up numbers. Adrian Peterson had 19 100-yard games in 3 years. During that time, no one had more 100-yard games than Adrian Peterson. No one also ran for more yards per game than Peterson either. It wasn't like it was one season. He averaged almost 100 yards a game for the decade.
But again, I'm not going to take nobody out that played the whole decade and gave hard years.
I mean, I
thought about him. But let me read you Thomas Jones. Why I didn't want to take him out. So his first year with the Bears in 2004, he had 948 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, 1,210 yards, 1,119 yards, 1,302 yards, and with the Jets. See, the last 3 years I said was the Jets. He went to Kansas City. He had 896 yards. He only started 10 games in Kansas City. So for 3 teams, he was very productive. I should have put him on, but it was hard to take him off. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I just thought that 63 touchdowns and the way he was doing it and how he was doing it, how it helped New England, and it was hard to take. That's why I had to give Cordy Dillon. It wasn't the sexiest pick, but it was like I got to give him love on this, you know. And the thing is, I want people to understand what's hard is, like Marshall. I see what you're saying. The thing about Marshall, at least we got him in the 90s, but you got a lot of players that came in like 96, then retired in 2004. So it's like, even though they were good, it's hard.
Their whole career.
Their career, it's hard to put their decades in there when only playing 3 or 4 each, you know. So this is a hard list, man.
Yeah, because I'm surprised Faulk didn't show up on your list because, you know, like I said, I didn't know which. Like I said, for me, like I said, when you're put on by your peers as arguably but the best player in the league overall, that to me is where it is. And you know, but like I said, that's the reason why we do these shows, because we both go back and forth. And like I said, this is the most entertaining one we've had in a while. So
yeah, it was. All right, so that concludes. Let me put this up. This is Mike being Mike. I should get Mike a stop it too for saying something like this. Should I? So I'm gonna get a stop it button soon.
Or just grab the audio from the show and just drop it here and there. I know Noah Mike, there's got to be one more in there as well too. Does he have any more wonderful comments in there since we're posting his comments on there?
Let me see. He said Betty claim my neck and back every year and make it the song of the decade with his logic. Oh. All right. He wanted to get me too. So okay, Mike, we're gonna bring you on here because this is what he said about me. Who got the raspy Mike? You know, so
I mean, listen, these lists are always subjective, but that's why it's fun though. These are the most fun lists we can come up with. But yeah, like I said, I think of the 4 weeks we've done this.
Damien. Right? Yeah, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but this wasn't Faulk's first album though. Faulk, this is like his 7th or 8th album into the the 7th, 8th season. So it was like his first album though.
And I wouldn't call it Faulk a one-hit wonder. I was just saying that he had I was saying he had MVP season is like saying you got a one-hit one, and that's it. You gotta have a track to say he's the top 10 of that decade. That's all I'm saying. You got to have a whole list.
Listen, but his 1 year was better than most people's entire decade.
Hey, this might be the comment of the year. So, that's what we're gonna start doing for her. We're gonna have a comment of the
week.
Yeah, man, we're gonna do that and maybe bring them at the end.
I mean, listen,
at the end,
but no, and the good thing about this is that it's always we don't have these lists.
No, they're at 10 is actually close to where I would rank him. Danny Marsh is a little high in my opinion.
So
Marshall.
So what? So Marshall's high this week. Hey, I'm getting thrown to the bus for this week. 4 weeks ago, where I had him so low, y'all already hit me with the Greyhound the week before.
Hey,
stop it.
Wait, you know what it is? Daddy did it because y'all got on him so bad. He had to make up for.
No, because we talked about this. We talked about this in pre-show.
Did you have him like a number 11?
No, I had Faulk in the top 10.
What was it? Number 9?
Like eight or something.
He had Faulk at number 8, y'all.
But the reason why I said it was because I think those 2 offensive player of the years in that MVP in the 2000s to me was better than what he did in the 90s.
In 99, he bought out.
What I'm saying is, look that's what I'm saying.
Wait.
He was offensive player of the year in 99.
Right.
But he was also offensive player of the year in 2000 and 2001. He was all pro in those years as well as the league's MVP. I think those 2 years will supersede what he did in the 90s by itself. Because when you win the MVP award, especially as a running back, this is not a quarterback we're talking about here. As a running back, count how many running backs have won the league's MVP honor.
So
ain't that many.
So this guy he's a player of the year in 99.
Offensive player of the year.
Offensive player of the year in 99.
Mm-hmm.
He has 5 1,000 yards rushing seasons. He also remember he was rookie of the year in 90.
Okay.
And you have him because he had 2 good years. You have him higher than that.
Those 2 years. Those 2 years. When you're player of the year at your entire skill level, and then your league's MVP weighs more than rookie of the year. When you're the best player in your league, it weighs more.
I'm just saying, man. That's what Mike Patton said.
I mean, he did win. He won that one. All right. I wasn't thinking 50 Cent. I mean, that was a good one though.
Oh man. See, look, Mike on the roll. All right, man. We back. All right, y'all. So next week we're gonna do the wide receivers 2000. That should be fun because they start getting more love. I don't know. You think this would be harder than the wide receivers?
Listen, there are so many good because the thing is, it's going to be one of 2, maybe 3 wide receivers, and it's arguably for debate. But there's so many because you got to think the passing game opened up in the 2000s,
right?
And man, there were some guys who put up numbers. I mean, it's not as easy as a list as you think, but I think this one might be the most fun. If you thought tonight was fun, I think next week might be a little bit more fun than this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, all right, man. Y'all, there was. Oh yeah, next week is Father's Day. I don't know. We'll see.
Listen, we might have to do that on Saturday.
But this COVID got me all messed up, so I forgot.
I mean, listen, so Rafi, so we could do it this way. We Versus has got Alicia Keys and John Legend on Friday for Juneteenth. We do our show on Saturday before Father's Day, and we can celebrate Father's Day.
Wait, who going against Alicia Keys?
John Legend.
I
think they said it's supposed to be doing pianos.
Oh Lord!
Listen, I'm all for it.
Sometimes I ain't gonna lie. I can't. Let me not shut up, for I won't get a Father's Day present. But,
well, listen. I mean, it depends.
I'll just say this: sometimes though, her singing. Okay, I ain't going. Whatever. All right, man.
I mean, they can always lip sync, Rap. They can always lip sync. I'm just saying.
But she's a beast, man. You know that'll be interesting. That'll be good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we'll let y'all know maybe Saturday, like you said. Maybe we'll do a Saturday night. But go ahead, Danny. I'm gonna give the floor up to you. Any words?
Big shout outs to everybody that was watching the stream, all the comments, all the shares, all the likes. This is fun for us. Like we have so much fun doing this, and we appreciate everybody liking, sharing, and commenting on it. All jokes aside, this is fun for us. So like we like being criticized. At least I do. I find it completely. I find it the most amusing part of my week. So also big shout outs to Raf. Like I said, for this platform for us to do it together, and it's always enjoyable doing this with you on Sundays. So
yeah, man. Bro, talk about your show.
So I have Beyond the Buzzer.
Show is covered.
I know, right? We have, besides this one, we have Beyond the Buzzer on Mondays and Thursday nights for myself and the student of the game, Kyle Nash, which is on Facebook Live as well as Zingo Television. If you do have Zingo TV, you can catch it on Channel 198. If you don't have it, download the app. It's free. It's Channel 198 on Mondays and Thursdays. And then Tuesday nights, I have Talking Hoops with my man, with myself and my main man, Deshaun Tate, a.k.a. the basketball savant, a.k.a. the team captain of LSU, otherwise known as Light Skin United. And we talk basketball, all different forms, high school, college, pros, you name it, all topics, all side. And then you can catch my written work on the 3-point conversion and catch me on Sundays. So,
hey, you mentioned Deshaun Tate. You remember that time when Pippen put his Jordan shoe up? He was going like this. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying.
Listen.
Hey, I'm just saying. But,
listen, I mean, you know what happened when Jordan when Scotty did that Jordan. You saw what happened next, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, I don't have my Jordans on right now, so I can't do it.
Sorry. It's okay. They'll go grab them though.
Like I don't even know if I can get my leg up like that. But y'all already know what it is. The 3-point conversion, man. Y'all follow us, YouTube, everywhere. Please, if y'all not, please follow us. And then make sure y'all follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Y'all see it right there on the ticker. But the 3-point conversion sports lounge, it is, like I said, man, this is a great show every Saturday morning. Y'all check us out. And what else? We got my one-on-ones each week. I didn't do it. It was my anniversary, so should be getting
big
back
shout outs
this week.
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. 8 years. And then we have writing. We have the My Journal. I'm gonna come up with a special one where we're gonna have Danny Thompson on here. We'll probably I might get Darrell senior Darrell. No, not Darrell Johnson. I can't even think of his name. Y'all know Darrell, Legacy Sport, Legacy Maker.
Darrell Owens, yeah.
Darrell Owens, yeah. I'm gonna get Darrell, see if he come on. Maybe get Miss Karita, whoever else, Deshaunta, whoever, but might do a special one coming up soon, man. We're gonna put that together, talk about these funny or crazy or wild media stories. Got a lot of them. But all right, man. Y'all stay up, y'all stay safe, stay healthy, keep fighting for the cause. And look, we the 3-point conversion is where it's at, man, for real. All right. We're gonna holler.
It says right here. Where fans matter.
Peace. Where fans matter. You see it. Holla.
Peace out, y'all.